وكاتم باش استا محاضري أورومان أو أتبري محاضري سيمان درباري the effect of exercise on body systems. There are several effects of exercise on the body systems. We are talking about them today. The first question, what happens when we exercise? This is a very important question. What will happen in our body when we exercise? There are several responses to exercise, depend on a number of factors. Type of exercise stress encountered, so level of training, nutritional and hydration state. So the type of stress encountered, level of training, conditioning, nutritional and hydration status. These are important factors to determine our body response to exercise. Age, gender, body type, muscle fiber type ratios, genetic factors and environmental conditions, psychological factors. Physiological response to exercise stress varies according to the factors mentioned above and can be summarized in a timeline. So our body response to exercise depends on age, genetics, our conditioning system, our training level, and our body type, our weight. There are different factors. And according to the timeline, how our body responds to exercise. We call short-term response, which occur within seconds to minutes of starting the exercise. We call it stress reaction. كواتي أقل مثلا غار بدي يوسر إلى في سكند كمي غاردان تاتن دقيقة غاردان بيدنا short term response وات stress reaction أو سنة أو أنا يكسر autonomic nervous systems like sympathetic nervous system activation دبي and parasympathetic nervous stimulate system reduction دبي resulting in the predominance of fight-flight response and reduced vegetative actions. Response depends on fight-flight response, what the بداية exercise immediately within short term, there will be increase in the heart rate, increase in the breath rate, like as we said, increasing cardiac output and reduce blood flow to the other organ systems. Elevated core temperature increases blood flow to the skin to facilitate thermoregulation. Okay, so this is the immediate or short-term response. Respiratory response, as we said, there will be increase in the breath rate and depth of respiration to meet demands for gas exchange. طبعا وشي غارده دي بالسرير جسمان أكسجين زيادة ديبتن دويا heart rate زيادة بي cardiac output زيادة بي breath rate زيادة بي depth of ventilation زيادة بي, all to provide more oxygen for the body and to exhale more CO2. Also, within the short term, there will be metabolic and respiratory responses to buffer the lactic acid that are produced by the active muscles. What about medium term, which occurs minutes to hours, based on resistance reaction? There will be hormonal responses accentuate and prolong the autonomic neural response above, release of catecholamines from adrenal glands, okay? So within minutes to hours, there will be release of catecholamine, ACTH, and growth hormone from the pituitary gland, cortisol from adrenal gland, increased substrate availability for energy metabolism to fuel for longer duration of exercise. Activation of the renin-angiotensin and antidiuretic systems also happens. These are all called hormonal response, okay? This ADH is to help preserve fluid and electrolyte balance and maintain blood pressure. So initially there will be nervous response, then there will be hormonal response. And in the long term, these 2 weeks of exercises, there will be adaptation. اگر یەکێک ڕۆژانە ڕاضی ئاسڵ بکە ئەزەڵی گەورە دەبیت یەک ڕۆژانە غار بدە قوتي جهازي تنفسي باشتر دەبێت قوتي جهازي دڵ و خوێن بەرەکان باشتر دەبێت ئەو پێ دەڵێن adaptations. Repeated acute bouts of exercise usually result in adaptation to exercise stimulus. Adaptation results from gene activation in the various tissues under stress. Cellular structural changes in the muscles and other tissues result in strength and endurance changes. Neuroregulation changes optimize muscle activation pattern. Okay, so the first thing that we discussed today was our body response to exercise. The second subject for today is energy for exercise. The first source of energy, we call it ATP. This is a small quantity of energy present in the cells at rest. So these ATPs, they are present actually in small quantities in the cells at rest time. But once we do exercise, our body gonna use this ATP. It can provide the initial impetus for a throw, jump, punch, serve in the tennis, or the initial reaction of the blocks in the sprint. If high intensity exercise is to continue, the small amount of ATP present in the cell at rest must be properly regenerated. So the first one is impulse energy source, we call ATP. The second is immediate energy source, we call creatine phosphate. The high energy phosphate buffers can replenish cellular ATP levels for all out maximum efforts, lasting 6 to 7 seconds or longer durations at low intensity. طبعا ATP within few seconds خلاص دبي. Creatine phosphate within 6 to 7 seconds خلاص دبي. So these are used for high impulsive, high intensity exercises. A high percentage of fast twitch fibers replete with creatine force. Eat more red meat and oily fish or creatine supplementation, in addition to sprint and resistance training, are factors which optimize function of the system. Again, مثلا جسمت وش قلت ما صار مصل فايبرك هي fast twitch fibers اگر زور بي لنا مصل كان من أو ستوري كرياتين زيادة دبي كرياتين صور كو زيادة ريج دبي بهروا بخواردني گوشت يعني ماسي يعني كرياتين بشوي supplement أولو أو كساني كرياضي عاصم دكان بيوستيان بصورة كرياتيني زور هي شكرا بخوت عندزان هرسي تقدر والوانية 7 8 أو 10 seconds بي أو كرياتين فوسفات زور مهمة بلو فانكشني مصلا كان بأماوي كرتا. The third source is short-term energy being anaerobic glycolysis. On a sustained high rate of ATP regeneration to power longer duration exercise require metabolism of fuels. ليروا metabolism دسبتكاتي. Advocator source are already available, ATP and creatine phosphate. They are very good, but very limited amount, so they're going to deplete very soon. So the third source, which will be used for energy, is via metabolism. So seconds to minutes breakdown of glycogen or glucose anaerobically provides a small of ATP properly. This is anaerobic metabolism, okay, which occurs within seconds to minutes. The fourth force, which is the largest source or the largest quantity, اگر exercise كبوماوش زيادتي خايندو واروا lower intensity so aerobic metabolism دسبيدكاتن. Okay, this is provide more efficient energy because the amount of ATP they provide by this source is huge. Aerobic breakdown of carbohydrate and free fatty acids to produce ATP requires mitochondrial enzymes and cofactors of TCA and the electron transport chain. Okay, so there will be aerobic metabolism of carbohydrate plus free fatty acids. Now, أنا كوبا كاردين برقي من الميتوكوندريا جزء روداتن بسايكل TCA and electrical creep cycle يبيضلن TCA and the electron transport chains which are happens inside the mitochondria. Okay, muscle physiology. As we said, we have slow twitch fibers, aerobic endurance fibers, speed and breath, have glycolytic and mitochondrial aerobic energy systems. they are source of glycogen. أنا عادة slow twitch fiber يعني بيدن أو fibers type 1 أو أنا aerobic metabolism aerobic size يعني قد كي fiber أنا والله story glycogen باشان تدا as we said Krebs cycles electron transport chain aerobic rapid and red fibers. It provides with constant fuel and oxygen supply. Actually, this is it, not if. They fatigue slowly but have low concentration, speed, and low strength. أما muscle fiber أنا طبعا أنا marathon runner كان marathon runner أكتر بني أصلا يعني زوجة كسكيا بلام طبعا لو ما ويشي دريج غالبا لبرا muscle fiber يعني زورا يستم ما ويشي دريج لبرا وي aerobic metabolism بيدويتن بلان قونا حظبك ضعيفة بوتيان زوجة كمان زايدين سرعة شان كمان عكسي sprinters أواني صدمة تري غالبا أنا fast twitch fiber يعني زورا أوكي I want to speed and strength fibers. I want to pay white champion anaerobic system intracellular energy source like creatine phosphate and glycogen fuel source available for droplet turnover. So I want to fast twitch fibers, they contain glycogen, but this glycogen here they are used by droplet breakdown by anaerobic glycolysis and creatine phosphate shantia. Fast-twitch fibers have high concentration speed and greater unit strength, but fatigue quickly due to rapid accumulation of lactic acid. أو أنا قوتي عن زورة في muscle fiber أنا أقاني صدمتي بقوة غالبا أو أنا لبوي مصنع عن زورة استراتي عن زور باشا قوتي عن زورة بلام زوم عندي دبل. Fast oxidative glycolytic fibers and intermediate fibers. Okay, أو أنا هم oxidation يعني كده يعني intermediate between type A and type B, which have both aerobic and aerobic energy system depending on training stimuli. These fibers adapt and behave more like slow twitch or fast twitch fibers dependently, accordingly. Oh, muscle physiology man basket, then is cardiovascular and exercise. As muscle begins exercising, the arteriole serving the muscles dilate to provide more blood to flow. By itself, this vascularization would lower the total peripheral resistance and does mean arterial pressure. طبعا لكاتي exercise أو capillary يعني لأنه مصل كمان dilatation لكن حتى blood تجزور لأنه مصل بمن لو peripheral resistance كم دبيتن و blood pressure كم دبيتن. However, arterial pressure does not decrease because other parts of the cardiovascular system are adjusted to support the increased blood flow to the muscles. راستا mean arterial pressure كم دبيت بلام the total blood pressure كم نابيتن لبروي راستا بخود design blood pressure extended but cardiac output زارن peripheral resistance. So the cardiac rasta peripheral resistance can be cardiac output زيادة though overall blood pressure does not increase. Vasodilatations of muscle arterioles due to local chemicals. These occurs with the muscles as a result of the muscle fibers using more energy. Okay, on my basket. This mechanism greatly amplifies the response to exercise because it automatically ensures that muscles using more energy get more blood flow. Almost like بكاردية blood flow دي بزيادة بيتن حتى أكسجين زيادة له بيهم ميتابوليزم زيادة له بروا fuel زيادة له بروا and the blood during exercise. This is cardiovascular response. The blood shifts from skin, GIT, and kidneys to the exercising muscles. The other response is respiratory stress response to exercise. As you see, there will be increasing breathing rate, increasing the depth of respiration because our body uses more oxygen and produce more CO2 during exercise. So there will be some change in the respiratory system to provide more oxygen for the body and to exhale more CO2 from the body. Eventually, your breathing rate increases and you breathe more deeply, and also heart rate increases in order to transport the oxygenated blood to the muscles. All right. Okay, this is any questions at any time you can ask me, you can send me. All right. The energy systems. The energy system, the phosphagen system, also known as a phosphocreatine or phosphate system, is an anaerobic pathway that supplies immediate energy to your working muscles. The amount of phosphocreatine stored in your body is limited, so this system only provides you enough energy for about 10 sets of high-intensity exercise. Many sprint and explosive power athletes using this system. Okay? في phosphagen system بس معك creatine phosphate أو بجدك about first 10 seconds of the exercise. It's limited actually. After the 10 seconds of the type of athletes typically require about 2 to 4 minutes of rest to allow regeneration of the phosphocreatine itself. It's very important for athletes participating in this type of training to allow this rest interval between sets to allow the energy system to recover. Basha, لبروي أما ضلين لبني هسيت 2 تا 4 minutes rest habitat. چونك أو 2 تا 4 rest is very important for regeneration of creatine phosphate. The glycolytic system, also known as glycolysis, is another anaerobic metabolic pathway that functions to break down glucose or glycogen into energy. As with first energy system, the glycolytic system has also limited store and provide only fuel for about 1 to 2 minutes of high intensity exercise. This system also yields lactate molecules, which can be thought of as friends rather than foes. Lactate can be used as an energy source to fuel your muscles and certain exercise. So أوش مهمة بزاني باشا مثلا أقدر exercise كان عندك درجة خان أو زارك glycolysis دست بدك. Glycolysis مشكلة كيسية anaerobic عليها. Anaerobic glycolysis provide lactate. So the lactate, as you know, it causes body to fatigue. The third energy system, the most abundant energy system is the aerobic glycolysis. Here, a pyruvyate of glycolysis enters the mitochondria and generates a constant supply of energy to fuel working muscles for hours and hours. Lately, or the last thing, when you first begin exercise with a bout of lower intensity cardiovascular response or dynamic movement, your body utilizes primarily anaerobic systems with a small contribution from the aerobic pathway. As you progress into a more aerobic exercise, your body calls upon more of the aerobic energy systems with less contribution from anaerobic energy system. As a general rule, high intensity and maximal training rely more on anaerobic metabolism, whereas lower intensity and longer duration training rely more on aerobic metabolism. Very rarely does one energy system perform all of the work at any given point throughout the exercise. بس الإيبيت نعمل كاتك أجل exercise كدس بيكر لبداياتك وكوباس معكر ATP creatine phosphate و anaerobic glycolysis بدك بلا أجل درجة خان أو aerobic دس بدك أو رياضة كلو intensity usually they use more aerobic system أو exercise high intensity usually they use anaerobic system. But generally, hardware system they are involved. They participate in provide energy. All right. بلام يكشان predominant لو كيتر حسب exercise intensity. هي هذا نمشي هبت هذا كاتك سؤال تنا أبو زور كم خوشة ببرسن زور سباس.